My name is Imran Nuri. I'm the founder and CEO of the 52 Million Project, a 501c3 nonprofit going after a long-term vision of engaging 1 million people and donating just $1 a week. When our donors give $1 a week, it goes to a different nonprofit fighting poverty every single week. And this week's beneficiary is a Portland, Oregon nonprofit called Raphael House, who's set to receive over $580 from us, thanks to our 580 donors and counting. With us here today is Amanda Ives from Raphael House. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, and we're so excited to be supporting you this week. We're over here in Columbus, Ohio, so Portland is a long way away, but we love the work that you're doing, and I'm really excited to ask you a couple of questions about to allow you the chance to kind of share your passion and enthusiasm for the work that you're doing. So tell me more about what Raphael House does.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to share with your members. And I just wanted to start with an enormous thank you to everyone who contributed to support our work and all of the fabulous other nonprofits that you've been helping out, especially this past year, makes such a huge difference for all of us. You already shared we're based here in Portland, Oregon. Raphael House has been supporting survivors of domestic violence and their families for more than 40 years. So we've been here a long time, helping folks who are fleeing violence and abuse build beautiful, safe, stable lives without abuse. And that's really, really critical, because what we know, unfortunately, is that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 7 men will experience domestic violence at some point in their lifetime. Domestic violence is also the leading cause of homelessness for women across the country. So we see our work as absolutely critical for keeping families safe and our communities safe, and are grateful and honored to have been a safe haven here for a long time. Our programs work as a triangulated approach. So for as long as we've been open, we've been offering emergency shelter for individuals and their children in a confidential location. So we have this beautiful, homey, wonderful shelter for families to come to at the moment that's most dangerous for them, unfortunately, which is immediately after fleeing an abusive partner. And we wrap those families in support, give them this wonderful place to stay, and help them achieve their goals, the goals that they want to achieve. We're also here 24/7 year round, not just with shelter, but with hotline support. So anyone can always reach out to our advocates and talk about what's happening with them, have a safe, confidential listening ear, and get access to help and resources. So emergency support is so critical. We help all these families in shelter move into safe, stable housing and start building the lives that they want to lead. And that leads us to the next part of our triangle, which is wraparound ongoing supportive services. Our approach is to be here for families for as long as they need, because we know that the process of healing and rebuilding your life after abuse can take a while. It's a lot longer than just the time period that someone might be in our shelter. So we've built this really incredible series of programs that help people with everything from the logistics of rental assistance and food and hygiene supplies, all the way to support groups and community events and access to educational support, and this past year technology support, lots of technology support. We also support folks who are experiencing both abuse and addiction and recovery. We help people with their housing needs, getting access to jobs, you name it. We're here for that for as long as families need, which is wonderful. And the third part of our triangle, which I think is most important, just in general for all of us, is prevention. Our hope, strangely, is that we won't be needed at some point. We would like to put ourselves out of business. We'd love that nobody ever experiences abuse again. So we've been in schools and throughout our community teaching people about safe and equitable relationships and consent for almost 15 years. And we serve more than 2,000 youth and adults every year through our prevention programming, which is fabulous.
That's incredible. It sounds like to me that there's such a comprehensive approach coming from your organization, that there are so many different things tied together in the issue of abuse and domestic violence. And it sounds like you're trying to do your best to address every piece of that, so that you're not just providing the emergency service, you're providing that and a path to recovery. And that's incredible. I mean, and doing that for 40 years, my goodness. I mean, that's amazing. we're really thankful for that work, especially now in COVID, where your work is needed now more than ever. So, with our 580 donors each giving $1 this week, tell me more about what a gift of that size can do for your organization.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I've never worked at a place. I've been at Raphael's for almost a decade now, but I've been with many of the nonprofits, and I have to say, getting to see every day the impact of every dollar that comes through the door is really incredible. We see families come to us at the hardest, most difficult moment in their lives, and we're very, very honored and grateful to be with them through that journey to whatever's next for them. And those gifts are really what make our services possible. Our donors are how we're able to be here with families every step of the way. And I like to think about, really that starting point for folks, that emergency moment when someone is having to make the awful decision of leaving everything behind, generally with their children. Many folks come to us with really just the clothes on their back, and are having to start over with hope of safety in their future. And $100 is about 24 hours of wraparound safety and support in our emergency shelter for either an adult or their child. So, as a starting point of that $500 pays for 5 days of literally life-saving shelter and support. And that's the staffing that's there all day, every day to support folks. That's the services and the on-site laundry and the kitchen and the food, all the things. So that is, wrapping someone in that very difficult time and in support that they deserve. And then, so much of this is helping people move forward. So of that additional $80, $50 of that helps pay for a housing application so that that family can move out of our shelter and get into their own apartment or home and start building that beautiful future that they want for their family. And I love that. And that remaining 30 will actually pay for 3 weeks of produce and food and like those critical resources that a family needs as well. So you're really together, your donors are paving the way for a family leaving abuse to get out of that situation and start over. And that's beautiful and very, very meaningful and deeply appreciated.
I love how you broke that down too, the 500, the 50, and the 30, and it kind of gives us a really clear picture of how exactly that is used. And of course, like our donors love that. Everybody's giving $1 a week. It's just giving up $1, and you don't think about how much of an impact that has. Like literally emergency sheltering somebody for 5 days. You don't think $1 can do that until it's together with hundreds of people and empowering nonprofits who are efficient and incredible like Raphael House. So I have one last question for you. For anybody listening or watching at home, what is the best way or one of the best ways that they can help to prevent domestic violence and abuse in their communities and their friend circles?
Such a good question. And as an organization that's been really, really rooted in prevention for such a long time, I have to say, our goal is to stop abuse before it happens. And one of the best ways that we can all do that, it honestly is in our own behavior and modeling our own behavior. So we spend a lot of time out in the community teaching people how to practice safe, healthy, equitable relationships that are respectful, and teaching people how to practice consent in their relationships. And if we are all, just as a base level starting point, working within our own relationships and our own lives, modeling for the people around us, that goes a long way. Beyond that, keeping an eye out for signs. If all of us were able to also recognize the signs of unhealthy, unequitable relationships for ourselves, for people around us, we often don't see that modeled very well in our media and in the signals that we get from the world. Equitable, consensual relationships are filled with respect and listening and asking questions and hearing the people who are around us and respecting their boundaries. And when you start experiencing that shift in a relationship where it is no longer equitable, where someone isn't respecting your boundaries, isn't practicing consent, that's a sign that something might be wrong there, and it's time to ask for help. And if all of us were learning about that, being aware of that, being aware of the resources that are available so that we can get help for ourselves or our loved ones or our friends, that's a really big start. And I encourage folks to check out, I love that you have donors from all over. There are amazing organizations in almost every city in this country that serve survivors. They're a wonderful national organization. So learning about the crisis and hotline numbers and the resources in your area so that you can be a resource for someone in your life. And if there's anyone listening that needs help, please know that you are not alone. There are always services, there are always listening ears. There's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. We have multiple hotlines here in Portland. There's great safe spaces to find that information online. So I think if each of us are helping take care of those around us and support those around us and ourselves, we could see kind of like your $1 from every donor that come together as a whole community to make a difference. If we were each taking those steps, we can make a huge difference also.
That's a great way to put it, that we all have the power to do even just a little bit, and that all adds up quickly. And that I love that your answer to that question is about advocacy and learning. There's so much more that we can learn, and once we learn, there's so much more we can do. And so I hope that anybody listening at home or anybody watching at home will do that today, just taking a little bit of time to learn a little bit more. But thanks so much, Amanda, and thank you again to each and every one of our donors for empowering a different nonprofit fighting poverty every single week, just like Raphael House. If you're not already a donor, go to 52millionproject.org to start giving your $1 a week today. Thanks again, Amanda, and thanks to the entire Raphael House team.